Hello. Wow. Waiting for my buddy Adam to join us. There we go. We have Malachi in the building. Malachi, how are you, buddy? You good? All right. Wow. This is that's an up close. Okay. Here we go. I am looking for Adam Maudlin. Guadalupe, ¿cómo estás? Let's see here. How's everybody doing out there? Hope everyone's being smart and safe. My man Andrew's in the building. Malachi is safe and healthy. Great. We have Neto from the Dominican Republic. Great people. We have Mindy in the house. We have Mindy. Mindy Mastro, the great Mindy Mastro. You can follow her at Mindy, M-I-N-D-E, Mastro. There she is. Let's see. Okay, fantastic. We will be joined by Adam Maudlin. Adam is one of the top real estate brokers in the country. He works out of New York City. And I'm interested to hear what's going on in New York, what's going on with the real estate, what are people thinking? Hello, Jason from Maudlin Group. Is this a good time to buy, sell? If you have any questions, please join us. Just write it down. I'll read a couple questions. And I think a lot of people are really thinking about what to do with their properties. Hello, Nelly. Is this a buyer's market, seller's market? Should you be renting a place? All these great questions we're going to ask Adam. Adam, you need to comment so that I can loop you in. I've always said that if you're over 30, you probably don't have a good idea about all this technology stuff. If you're like Adam and I and you're over 40, you have no chance unless the kids are around. So, fantastic. I'm looking for Adam Maudlin. There he is. I'm going to loop him in. There he is. Mr. Adam Maudlin. How are you, bud?
Great. How are you?
Wow. I love the drinks in the back. Great
It's
spot.
close to happy hour, they said, so.
I love it. I love it. But before we start drinking, let's get into.
You told me to always be ready.
So Adam, I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Great people listening. A little background on you and I for the folks. We've been friends for over 25 years. It's hard to believe that. I walked into Bergdorf Goodman as a young lad, and you were sitting there selling suits. And we always joke around that we knew we were going to get along and be great friends when you try to sell me a suit that costs $500 for $2,000.
I always said you were a great customer.
I'm fascinated. You have a great family. You live in New York. You have unbelievable parents.
Thank you.
Brother Avery, and I'm wondering, in the world we're in today, of such challenging times for so many people, I'd love to cover a lot, obviously the world of real estate, how you've come up in your career and some of the great things you've accomplished. But first of all, let me ask, is everyone healthy, sound? How are you doing? How are your parents? How are your kids?
Thank you so much, Alex. It's great to be here with you today. So, as you said, first and foremost, health, as you and I always say, health is everything. Growing up together for the last over 25 years, as you said, our kids grew up together, and health always comes first. So thank God everyone is healthy, feeling good and well. We're following the instructions, staying home. We're out here in the Hamptons and working from home.
Explain to me how you go from selling suits at Bergdorf Goodman. You've always had a great passion for clothing, for fashion. How do you transition from the fifth floor at Bergdorf Goodman to owning one of the greatest real estate companies in the country, the Maudlin Group? Walk me through that transition.
Sure. So growing up, as you said, I've always loved fashion. I went to school in New York. I went to Baruch. It was one of the very few things that Jennifer and I have in common, that we both went to Baruch, and I'm very excited about it. While I was in school, I was working full-time at Bergdorf Goodman, and I loved the interaction with people. I loved business. I loved fashion. And I was very fortunate to have a childhood friend's father who was in real estate approach me and invited me to a meeting and asked me if I would work with them for a real estate opportunity to sell real estate. And I said to him, I don't know anything about real estate. I never even heard those words before when I was in my early 20s. And he told me this gentleman actually came from South Africa, and they came to this country. They were originally in the clothing and the retail business and transitioned into real estate. And he said, Adam, the same skills that you are developing as a stylist in the clothing business are transferable into real estate. And when I was in my young 20s, he opened up my eyes to that, and he gave me an opportunity to transition from clothing into real estate.
So let's fast forward, and then we'll go back. So we'll go forward and back a little bit. If you own real estate in New York City, if you want to buy New York real estate, or if you want to rent, what should people be thinking about in the world of real estate, and what is happening in New York real estate?
Great question, Alex. So right now, we're in a period of a pause because of the world pandemic. The market in New York, I believe, my prediction, in the next 3 to 6 months will be the greatest opportunity to buy real estate in New York that you and I have seen in many, many years. The fundamentals for New York real estate are very strong. You have one of the best cities in the world, one of the greatest financial markets, fashion capital, culture. Everyone loves to come visit New York. Everyone loves to play in the New York bucket. And that's why you and I have always been so fascinated with it. It's become a buyer's market over the last few years. New York has always relied heavily on the foreign market. And as many of the foreign markets have had their challenges over the last few years, it has become more of a domestic market. And now, because of the world pandemic, we're in a pause, we're in a government shutdown, everyone is at home, and real estate services is not an essential service. Our Governor Cuomo said that we can't operate real estate services right now. New Yorkers don't like to be told what to do. And after everyone's locked up in a timeout for a couple of months, I would be prepared to come out swinging when this is all over.
You're spending some time in the Hamptons. Is that has been a carryover to the Hamptons real estate? What's going on there? I know you mentioned recently that you have friends that are starting to build spec. What's happening in the Hamptons?
I'll tell you, Hamptons has been a blessing these last few weeks. As you know, our core business is New York, but we've developed a global business of clients all over the world. In the last year alone, I've traveled to Moscow, Paris, London, Italy, Turkey, in addition to, of course, our core markets, LA, Miami. But now, New Yorkers, many of them, have fled from the city to the Hamptons. So in spending time here and living here now for the last several weeks, it's been an incredible resource to be able to help clients get settled here in the Hamptons because it's just less dense and it's a better environment for the family.
Let me ask you a question. You mentioned traveling all over the world. How would you describe the difference of your international clients versus your domestic clients versus your local New York clients?
As I say, one of the greatest blessings of New York real estate ever since I started is that most markets only rely on the local market. New York is very different. The market that New York plays in, you have people from all over the world for business, for pleasure, for holidays, for sending their kids to our best universities. Everyone wants to come to New York. So we've always had a great diverse buyer pool to buy real estate in New York. Lately, many of these groups have had their challenges in their different countries, economically, politically, and so most of the major transactions that have taken place in New York recently have actually been domestic, and that's a very interesting theme.
Adam, I'm reading here, Team Nico _UK asks, how does the current pandemic hit your equity position? Great question, Team Nick.
Is the question related to our multifamily portfolio?
No, residential.
Residential. How does it affect our business?
Yeah, how does what happens to your equity? So if you buy an apartment and it costs, $2 million and you have $1 million of equity and $1 million of debt, how does that affect the equity, what's going on right now?
I see. I would tell you that a good advisor, a good real estate broker, a good advisor in this market advises their clients, Nico, not to panic. The best thing to do in a market like this is do nothing. And I've seen that now. This is our third crisis that we've been through since 2001, the tragedy of September 11th, then the mortgage crisis and Lehman Brothers in 2008. And now in this pandemic, what you see mostly is sophisticated clients. They don't rush to sell and then sell their property for pennies on the dollar and take a huge loss of equity. They wait, they take a pause, and then in the next few months, see how the market adjusts.
Adam, what kind of phone calls? I know that you represent some of the smartest people on the planet. What kind of calls are you getting? And take us behind the curtain, and what is the conversation like when it comes to what are buyers calling you and saying, and what are sellers calling you and saying?
So yes, I have about 15 or 20 calls a day from clients in various cities, from here to the West Coast, globally. Certainly a lot of our clients who are interested in great opportunities, great investments on the buy side, people want to know, is now too early? Should we wait? When is the right time to buy? And what I would say, one of the best things you could be doing now if you're in this business is be in contact with your clients. Stay close to your relationships. As Alex always taught me the saying, stay close to the hoop. And the reason is, while we're not allowed to be out showing properties physically right now, we should be emailing and sending property web links, virtual tours to all of our clients to make them aware of the opportunities that will be on the table over the next few months. So I think there's going to be a great opportunity on the buy side. Like you all always taught me, preparation is everything. So right now, it's all about preparation. Learn the properties, learn the market, watch the data.
So when you think about, information and where you came from, Adam, you came from very humble beginnings. Your father worked at the local temple and synagogue. And it's not like you had this great fancy degree or got your MBA. I mean, you've done it one step at a time, the old-fashioned way, and you've created a juggernaut of one of the greatest small, mid-cap, private real estate boutiques, the Maudlin Group. What do you attribute that to?
Well, one is, as you mentioned, I'm very blessed and fortunate to have a very loving and supporting family growing up with my older brother and my parents. I wasn't as fortunate to be born into a real estate family. I missed that trick. So, Alex, I mean, something that we have in common is when it's not handed to you, you have to do it yourself. And that's why you and I, when we walk up Madison Avenue for the last 25 plus years, we say that we earned our PhDs, which is poor, hungry, and driven, and add grit to that. So it was just really for lack of not having a choice. I knew I wanted to be successful. We lived in this great city, New York. And so in order to be successful, I had to create a business myself.
With the Maudlin Group now, you've created the Maudlin Holding Group, which basically has diversified some of your interests across many different array of businesses. whether it's venture, whether there's a little bit of private equity. And first of all, why? And then explain our partnership with our great friend Ofer, the head of Stonehenge, and some of the things we're doing there and how excited we are about that. But first of all, why did you diversify and didn't focus 100% of your time on real estate?
You know, one of the things that I learned from the brokerage business is that you're always representing clients to buy and sell. And we rely on ourselves to find the good deals. We have our boots and straps on the grounds. We're out there, we're hustling, we're working 7 days a week, we're seizing the opportunities. And sometimes you scratch your head and you say to yourself, why didn't I buy that? Or why didn't I invest in that deal? The answer is very simple, as you and I know, is when you don't have the money to buy, it becomes very difficult to enter that business. The barriers to entry are very, very high. So I always knew that I had an aspiration, an ambition. I've always been very inspired by the multifamily business that you have built. And obviously I've watched very closely the real estate empire that you've built at A-Rod Corp. And I always wanted to participate in that business. So I always knew when the opportunity came, and it took me many, many, many years to find the right opportunity, but I knew at the right time I was gonna jump in.
I love that. I love that. And I had one thing I wanted to ask you because, you know, you mentioned something that really resonates with me. You and I came from very humble beginnings, and there's a lot of people out there that are struggling and going through a hard time that do not have a lot of liquidity, or if they had some liquidity, it's tied up now because of the very challenging times. What advice can you give young people or anyone out there that doesn't have a lot of liquidity? What should they be thinking about today? Maybe a tangible nugget or two that when this pandemic ends, they can be in the best position to do great things for themselves and their family.
What I think about doing, and advice that I often give, is if somebody wants to be in the residential brokerage business, or if you want to be in the multifamily business, with the advent of technology today, you can look up in 30 seconds who are the best, the biggest rock stars in that business. I would look up the 3 top brokers, the 3 top multifamily operators, and I would reach out to them. I would introduce yourself. I would ask them for a cup of coffee. You know, the one beautiful thing today in terms of where we are as a silver lining is anyone who reaches out to me and they say, Adam, do you have 2 minutes to talk? And I say to them, sure, I have all day. I'm not going anywhere. So nobody has the opportunity right now to say, you know, I'm too busy. Check back with me next month. So I would reach out to people who are successful in the business. And what I would focus on for young people entering the business, focus on your integrity, focus on relationships, focus on being a good person. You know, all too often today, Alex, people are focused on a particular deal. They're focused on money, on a commission, on a fee, or the glamour of the business. And one thing that's always steered me in the right direction is being a good person, having integrity, and having a good name. And to get back to it, that's why when the opportunity presented itself, with our dear friend and partner, Ofer Yardeni from Stonehenge, it was really a no-brainer. Is when I think about Ofer's, the way that I think about you, we both know each other independently for over 25 years and stand for the greatest character, morals, just best in class. And as you always told me, Adam, go for the best and forget the rest.
I love that. I love that. You know, it's interesting because I love what you do in real estate. And my question to you is, why do you wear a suit and tie every day?
So that's an easy one. I love fashion. You know, that's where you and I met. You were 18 years old. You were a rookie for the Seattle Mariners. I was 20 years old. And I'll never forget that day in 1994 where you walked into Bergdorf Goodman. And this is a little story about life. Is you were recommended by one of your mentors and good friends, Cal Ripken, and he told you to go see his person at the store, Barry. And you were supposed to see Barry that day. but Barry wasn't feeling well that day and he didn't show up to work. And like in sports, you always have to be ready, always have to be prepared. And I got the tap on the shoulder and they said, Adam, go to the door on Fifth Avenue and meet Alex Rodriguez. So
I love that.
I think to me, one of the most important things is how you present yourself and your image. And that's how people perceive you. You don't get that second chance to make a first impression. So with a suit and tie, you can never go wrong.
You know, talking about suit and ties, talking about opportunities, right place at the right time. One person's, you know, misfortune is another person's opportunity. We talked about timing, relationships, but I remember last time I was in your office in Midtown Manhattan, where you host the Maudlin Group with just a great bunch of young men and women that are very professional, and I think they really you know, represent you so well. My question is, when I was there, I saw you going through tens and tens. It had to be over 100 resumes of very, very smart young men and women from great colleges, just a great mixture of people that wanted to come work for one of the great boutique real estate companies in the world. I actually think that in business today, unlike, you know, decades ago, where big used to always beat small, we live in a world today that small can actually be big, and I think you're doing it better than anyone at the Maudlin Group. So if I was a young person and I needed a job coming out of this pandemic, what can I do different besides what's on my resume to impress you and your senior management team to be able to work at a company like the Maudlin Group?
It's funny, Alex, it reminds me, and you know this, when I was in Moscow last year, I got on the plane to go back to New York, and I ended up sitting next to our dear friend Malcolm Gladwell. And I had the conversation with him about selection process and about resumes. And Malcolm said to me, he said, Adam, I have a rule when I'm interviewing. If you tell me what college you went to, you're not getting the job. And if it even slips out and somebody else tells me, you're still not getting the job. So what I think about, what a great guy. So what I think about is everyone, as you and I discuss all the time, everyone has a superpower. I want to know what your superpower is. What do you bring to the table? What's different? This is all about a team, like in sports. It's not an individual. It's never just about me. It's about our entire team. What can you bring to the team that makes us better? That's what I'm looking for.
I love that. Adam, just a few more minutes here. I want to just ask you, everybody's always thinking, when you think about the market, they want to catch the very bottom. Well, let me tell you the good news, bad news. You're not going to catch the bottom, but you have to be close, you have to be measured, and you have to be thoughtful. My question is, and this is one that comes up a lot, is it too early to buy, or is it too early to sell? What is the right timing? And when you have your clients come up and say, Adam, is it too early to buy? What's your answer?
The answer is, it depends on the opportunity. Again, starts with preparation. You have to be on the field. You have to be in the game. You have to be swinging, looking at opportunities. If you're not looking at deals right now, when a great deal comes up, you're not going to know it's a great deal because you didn't have any background. You didn't do the work. You didn't do the diligence. Right now is the perfect time to be looking at every deal that's on the table and study the market, see the price per square foot, the neighborhood, see the transactions, see the percentage of negotiation. I'm all about data. I love looking at the numbers. And then when a great deal comes up, you have to be ready to knock it out of the park.
I love the data, thing. And one of the things I've enjoyed in closing, Adam, is we've gone into many opportunities. We've walked them together at all hours of the night. I mean, after games, before games. I think we've basically done everything under the moon when it comes to looking for opportunities. But, one of the things that always impressed me about you was two things, is how prepared you are and how much you and the Maudlin Group gives back to the community. One, I remember every time I asked you, like, who owns this house? And you would go so far above and beyond. Not only will you tell me who owns it now, you told me 4 generations back who owned it, who built it, who the architect is. I'm blown away. And I think is your preparation and your white glove services that separates the Maudlin group from any group out there. And then also I want to thank you for joining Jennifer and I, the Maudlin group, buying over 1 million meals to those in need. The Maudlin group did a fantastic job of giving back. And look, I think you're poised. You're in great position, as always, when this thing clears up, that I know you'll be ready to do great things. Thank you for your philanthropic work.
Thank you.
And any closing statements for the great listeners?
The other attribute that you and I always discuss, Alex, besides PhD and the G for poor, hungry, driven, and grit, is you got to go back to the capital P, which is passion. The one element that you and I always look for that often is missing in the young generation today is passion. One of the reasons why I'm doing what I do, you could see it, you can feel it, is I'm so excited. I'm so passionate. I love the preparation. I love to do the research. I love the diligence. By the time we actually go out and walk the property, most of our work is complete already. So I would say, make sure you have the passion.
I love it. We're talking about passions. Is 5:28, usually around 5:30. We call that happy hour here. So this is when I bring out my Presidente, and I like to just do a quick toast to you. Thank you for
Thank you, brother.
All you do for the community of New York. We will continue to give back and help back. And thank you for your time, and thanks for joining us on A-Rod Live. Cheers.
Alex, cheers. Thank you as always. Thank you to you and Jennifer and all your beautiful children, your family, your office, A-Rod Corp, all the great people. You guys are doing an incredible job, and we're all grateful for you and your support.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Here's to another 26 years, my friend.
Let's go kill it.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.